Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Conversations with Tona Brown. I am here with the beautiful and talented Rihanna. I know her as Rai Raye, and I'm so happy to introduce everyone to her. Hi, Rai Raye. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm very well. Thank you.
I have to say, for everyone who doesn't know, even behind the scenes, we have been trying to get this interview for so long. I know that you are an extremely busy person, and I'm just so blessed to have you on the show. Welcome to Conversations with Tona Brown.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So first off, everyone wants to know, how do we know each other? And so the first thing I want to talk about is I met this young lady on a show called BAPS, and it was a reality show based out of St. Louis. And I saw this very young, vibrant actress as well as just talented person. And I was just drawn to her personality and just this over the top personality. And I just loved it. And that's how we started chatting on the set, off the set, and we've been friends ever since. So I'm just so blessed to have you. And what we want to know is a little more about who you are as a person, also the different shows that you've been on since BAPS, and just what you've been learning along the way that you can help my audience, because we're all about empowering women. We're all about supporting each other on this channel. And I want the world to support you. So let's first start with that. How did we meet? And what was that experience like for you as the star on that reality show?
Well, you and I met on, like you said, on the show BAPS. We were filming it, and you, I think, were friends, or we got acquainted through one of the other characters on the show. And we hit it off immediately. And we've been in touch ever since. You've seen me grow up. That show we're speaking of, BAPS, it was on about 10 years ago, actually. Where does the time go? And the show was, it was about the supposed to be bougie, wannabe people. And they were telling me, oh, you need to be more like us. You're not of our stature. You need to become more whatever they were trying to portray themselves to be. I've always been the type of person, that I do my own thing. I'm myself. I don't try to fit in. I don't have to. I know exactly who I am. And, just that attitude and just me understanding who I am, and that it's okay to be myself and be different and not have to fit in with others. That has led me to a lot of success, and it has allowed me to mature with grace and grow up and still be confident in who I am. And meeting you was amazing. You were authentically yourself as well. I think that's where we connected.
Absolutely.
And we could see through the BS and everybody that was on the BS. So, real recognize real.
Y'all, there was so much BS on that show, y'all. Y'all don't even know a third of it. Like, we were just sitting there looking around like, okay, does this show off on the camera the way we're feeling?
Right.
Because it was so much. But I did, it was my first reality show experience. I definitely learned from that reality TV wasn't necessarily for me, but I could see the good and the bad in it. And I got to see beautiful personalities like yours shine, which was a good thing. And unfortunately, you guys, the show was canceled from Lifetime, but you were telling me off camera that you can still go see some of the episodes.
Yeah, so if you guys are just interested in to see what we're speaking of, the show was called BAPS. It used to come on Lifetime. Lifetime now is, I don't know if they're Paramount or what, but all I know is those shows now actually come on Amazon Prime. And so you can look it up. Yeah, it's on there. The first season, it only one season. It's from 2014. So that's how you'll know what we're speaking of. Not the movie BAPS, but there was a show called BAPS. Black American Princesses.
Yeah, Black American Princesses. And now, how did they get Tona Brown on the show? Because everybody's going to want to know, well, Tona, you should have known it was going to be ratchet because yada, yada, yada. So here's the thing, and I'm not opposed to any of that. But what happened was one of the ladies that was on the show, she was also acting as my management. And because all of you know, I go around to colleges and universities and I speak and all that kind of stuff. She had a company, and her company was supposed to be managing me going to all of these different schools. And the premise of the show was it was a lot of women of color who were upstanding ladies who were going after it and trying to make this money, and also trying to do things for the community. So let me tell y'all, for those of y'all who want to critique me for trying reality TV, my scenes was in a museum. It was at the polo match. We also were at a golf course. So you guys can kind of see what they were trying to do. They were trying to take all of these different women, putting us in these different scenarios. But child, when they start spitting in each other's face and smacking and all, I had to exit stage left. In fact, there's a scene that made the cut where you guys can't even see me because I grabbed my cellist and ran off there because I did not want to be seen. But on to that is where we met, and we both learned so much about the industry and everything afterwards. So tell us, like, what were your personal feelings about that experience? Would you do it again? How do you feel about that?
I actually really enjoyed the experience. It was my first introduction and just exposure to the industry. I had no idea at the time I would even be living in LA. Fast forward 10 years to now. I actually live here, which is the headquarters of television and film. But at the time, 10 years ago in St. Louis, when I was asked to be on the show, I just, it was all new and exciting and fun for me. I got to learn so much about production because I love production. They want me in front of the camera because of how I look and my personality, but I personally love production. I love behind the scenes. I love putting everything together, making everything come together, making everything work.
I mean, what would we have done without you? Seriously, there were so many scenes where, I was like, I'd be ready to fall asleep. And then you would come in, you were like, you know what? What if I do this, that, and the other? You were turning it up, and you were directing them to say, look, y'all, this is tired.
I know what the people want to see. So, because I'm very in tune with the people. I love people. I'm a people person. So I know what I'm entertained with. And we all love authenticity. We all love humor. And a lot of the girls on the show weren't given that. However, by me being on the show, I was able to learn a lot of the production, the behind the scenes, how everything works, everything with the cameras, and just putting on a show, creating an engaging experience or entertaining experience for the audience. I learned how to be professional in the industry, everything like that. You learn the language. I made a lot of connections. I did a lot of networking.
Tell us more about that, because even though that was not for me per se, you took it in with it. And unlike most of those girls on that show that no one has seen too much from since, you have been in movies, you've been on shows, you have been in audiences, you've been extras, you've been commercials, you've been doing a little bit of everything. So tell us, how did you bridge the gap between I'm on this reality show, I'm playing this character, I'm letting people know about my own personal life, into what you're doing now, moving to LA from St. Louis? Tell us a little bit about what that was like.
Oh my God, that's so loaded. Let's start from the beginning.
You know it's going to be loaded when you come on Conversations with Tona Brown, girl.
Period. So I took my first trip on vacation to LA in 2015. My ex-boyfriend brought me here on vacation. I instantly fell in love with the city. I was like, oh, I belong here. Oh, I need to be here. And it wasn't even attached to acting or anything like that. I just love the vibe of LA. I love the weather. I love the vibes, the energy, the environment. It's just beautiful aesthetically. The stores, everything is top tier. And I'm a top tier girl. I like luxury. I like nice stuff. I like the best of the best. The best sunset views, the best views of the ocean, the best restaurants, the best rooftops. We got it all. And that's my type of vibe, best malls, best stores, best shopping. So it was a no-brainer for me. When I visited LA, I was like, oh, I'm moving here. Instantly in my mind, I'm like, I'm moving here. Because I knew I belonged here. And it wasn't attached to acting. And so fast forward from there, I moved here in 2018. I just saved up a ton of money, moved to LA. relocated here. And it's funny because LA obviously is Hollywood. It's the headquarters of entertainment. And so when you're bopping around LA and you're meeting people, they'll instantly tell you, like everybody will say, "Oh, have you ever considered acting? Are you an actress? Are you a model?" And like growing up, I never saw myself as an actress. And even the show with BAPS, it was put in my lap. I never sought after that or aspired to become that. But just like anything else in life, people will see it on you. So if you have a light, if you have something about yourself, people will see it on you. It won't go unnoticed. So I got casted to be a Wild 'N Out girl in 2018, right when I moved to LA.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I was on Wild 'N Out. I met Nick Cannon, everything like that. He casted me. He casted 10 of us out of 1,000 girls. And so I was on that show. I had more exposure on television. Okay. Moved to LA. And I'm just meeting different people. And I run into the lady who casted me on Wild 'N Out, his casting director. And we were just hanging out one day. And she was like, "Have you ever considered acting?" And I'm like, "No, I don't really like it." Because for me, acting was having to play a role and be fake. And I was like, I'm too real to play a character. I don't feel comfortable faking something.
Right.
But she did. I remember her telling me, she was like, once you get a script that feels real or relatable for you, it'll click in and it'll make sense. And that's exactly what happened. So then she told me that. I went to Essence Awards 2022 and they sat me next to the cast of P-Valley. And when the usher brought me to my seat in my row, and I just remember approaching the row and I'm about to, enter the row and everybody has to kind of like move out the way. And I remember them looking up at me and they were just like gagged, like they were shook it. Like, dang, who is this movie? They was looking at me like I'm a movie star. Mind you, I didn't even realize who they were. I'm just like, let me get to my seat. So when I got in my seat, I realized I'm sitting next to the cast of P-Valley, right? Because I'm like, this is Mercedes.
Right.
Yeah. And then Uncle Clifford, he actually received an award at that award show that night for like a breakthrough character, or he got up and did his speech about how he was able to portray this gay man, be himself, and be able to embody who he was off camera, which was never acceptable. It was a very moving experience, but I just remember thinking, I could never get out of my mind how they react to me when they encounter me, when I hit their role.
Mind you, sis, I'm not shocked at all because I told you that when I first met you. If you remember when I first met you, I was like, you are a star. You have star quality. And I'm like, and you're made for the camera.
Yeah, that's what the producers would say. Like, oh, the camera loves you. The camera loves you. That was, y'all were right. But it just never clicked. It never really clicked in my mind because I was always so smart in school and so academically inclined that the acting and the personality part to me was just natural and it's just who I was. I never wanted to, I guess, make a career of it or capitalize on it, so to speak, because like I said, I pride myself on being an intellectual. I'm studious. I like to read. I like to write and all those types of things.
That's
and
right.
learn. So the acting and the being good in front of the camera was kind of like, whatever, I feel like, okay, anybody can do that. And now I'm understanding, no, anybody cannot do that. No, that's very important as well. But okay, back to my story. So then at the after party of the Essence Awards, that's when you meet everybody. That's everybody that was at the awards. They go to this private, the undisclosed location. We have this big after party. And so at this after party, I'm meeting all of these directors and producers and all these different people. And then people were coming up to me like, where do I know you from? Did you act in this? Or what show did I see you on? And it wasn't that they necessarily recognized me. I don't know. I just was giving off a vibe like I'm on the show. And then I remember a few directors was like, yes, if you're not acting or anything, you need to take it more seriously. You need to put yourself out there. So I took heed to that. I made a casting profile, got my headshots together, and actually took it serious. Started off on a roll. I mean, I was booking things left to right, and then we went on strike.
Right.
May of 2023, the writers and then the actors in July. And that really slowed everything down for Hollywood, period. Nobody was working. So it's like when I first broke into the industry, started working on shows. Byron Allen, he was the one to get my first acting opportunity with the script. And I love Byron Allen. To say this about him, I want to say that I love the fact that he's very inclusive. The show I work on has all women producers. And I think he's one of the only studios or sets like that I've worked on where you see all these women and all these Black women and minorities. You don't really see that in Hollywood. You don't see too many Black or women behind the scenes. So yeah, he did do that. Yeah. And he has a lot of women writers. They write his shows.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. I love every minute of it.
So once I did that, we went on strike, picked back up because the strike ended in November. It lasted about May, June, July, August, October, November. It lasted about 7 or 8 months. Picked back up. I was in a Super Bowl commercial at the beginning of this year.
What?
Yes, with J Balvin for Verizon.
You better do it. You better do it.
I was a screaming fan on the Verizon commercial. So.
Okay. I know off camera we were talking about some of the experiences that you learned in casting. Please share that with my audience, because this is real talk. Like, you went from St. Louis, you went to go pursue your dreams. Now you're living in your dream, you're working, you're getting booked, and then you're realizing something about colorism. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so like I told you, with me for acting and want to be on these shows and stuff was something that was brought to me. Everybody kept pressing the issue with me. You need to do this. You need to do this. So acting chose me. I never chose acting. However, when I started to work in the industry, I've worked on shows from that come on CBS, Netflix, Apple TV, you name it. I started to look around and notice that there weren't many African Americans, period. So when you talk about behind the scenes cameraman, production, and then we talk about talent, and if they are, what I started to realize, if they are Black like myself, they may be what the industry considers racially ambiguous. On my headshots, you know, I have on a blonde hair now, but I can have on different color hair, whatever. And I can always be like, well, what is she? And even out here in LA, they're always saying, what are you mixed with? What are you mixed with? And it's never just like, I'm Black. That's just not. Out here, that's hard for them to grasp. Like, and they don't really associate Black with light skin. If you have a light tone of skin, it's more like you're mixed with something, which we all are mixed with things. But I feel like in Hollywood, a lot of times they want you to, if you are a certain skin tone, they want you to play a certain role.
Oh, wow. And you told me something deep. You said, just look at, and for everyone who's listening and viewing this, one of the things that you said was, well, look at the audiences, even on these talk shows, and look who's in the front. And you told me a little bit about that. So tell me your feelings about some of your experiences.
So yeah, audience in a lot of these shows are the audience, not everybody, but some people are actors. They're paid actors to be there and to present a certain way. So when the viewers at home are watching the show, I don't know if you've all noticed. I know I used to be like, dang, why everybody in the audience look good? They fine. They pretty. They look nice. Yeah, they were hired to do that because it just makes the show look good overall. But they want certain people to sit there in the camera's view so they can be caught in the background so they can, that adds to the whole vibe of the show.
And it's attracting all that beauty. It's attracting more people to look at the show. So that is a gem that you are dropping that a lot of people have no clue about, is that a lot of these shows, there are paid actors and actresses that come in, hype everything up. They have to look good or they're not going to get called to come on there so that they can attract more people into from the audience. They want beautiful people. And it's interesting because they want beautiful people, but there's a color issue. They don't want dark-skinned beautiful people. That is interesting. Yeah,
they're more than likely not going to choose them. It's almost like it could be, it's an aesthetic. That's LA, period. It's just an aesthetic. It's very much given, I don't want want to say European, but they wanted to be like lighter tones. And we don't only see this in America. I mean, colorism exists all around the world, but America is like who everybody looks to, and we're like the golden children of the world. Everybody wants to look in. They're always looking to see what we're doing, our trends, what's popular, what's acceptable for us. We set a lot of trends. Right. And America, when it comes to Hollywood and show, they're just very particular on how the people look. If you were dark, that would be okay. I mean, we see dark and brown women have success in Hollywood, but they are going to be playing a role where, I don't know, it's for Black people only, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's horrible. I mean, especially in 2024, but that's the reality. And I commend you for speaking on it, because I think a lot of people feel that way, know what's going on, but they're terrified to like say the truth. And I'm all about truth telling on this channel. What do you feel was like your best experience on these different shows? Like, what have you learned, that is really profound to you?
As a Black woman, I know that there are advantages to being there's a lot of colorism in Hollywood. So I'm able to be in spaces maybe that a Black woman of a darker skin tone couldn't get in. However, I use that opportunity and that representation in a good light. I use it to represent us Black women in a great light. I identify as Black. So if I'm having a conversation with a producer, director, cameraman, and I present that, which I don't see a lot of Black women, especially in LA, they don't necessarily, if they're from here, sometimes they don't necessarily show up proudly as Black. So I'm able to do that. And yes, I'm Black, and we can be professional, we can be beautiful, we can be everything. And we don't have to be watered down or mixed. And you can be yourself. I'm myself. Like when I'm playing different roles, audience, whatever, I'm dancing, I'm having fun.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what they need to see, because I feel like a lot of times on TV and in the media, when Black women are portrayed as ghetto all the time. Like it always have to be something ghetto or negative. A lot of times they try to, even with Kamala, we see, it's just like always has to be associated with something ghetto. Absolutely. And so no, Black women can show up, be professional, have fun, and it doesn't have to be nothing ratchet. But I'm unapologetically Black, and it has taught me that I am enough. It is acceptable. And they really love to see it. By me showing up and being like, yes, I'm Black and I'm at the table and it's okay. That opens the door for others.
That's right. And so one of the things is too, while you were getting all of this attention, you're on red carpets, you are doing all these different television shows, and all of that, you're learning about colorism in the industry, and you're looking around and seeing it's not too many people that look like you around when you go to these casting calls, and
not even brown people either. Like brown people are not really accepted. Asians, no. And if they are, they have to look like ambiguous. They don't want to look at you and you look like a Mexican sitting in that audience, or you look like, now you get some dark people, you like women, and they probably do that just for the sake of not looking too crazy or too obvious. So they gotta sprinkle some in there from time to time. But it's not the majority.
Wow. So how did you come to the premise of starting your own business? Because now you're an entrepreneur. How did you get to that?
Well, when we were filming BAPS, I was in college at the time, and I was studying psychology. So now I've graduated. I have my degree in psychology. And I came across some issues in college too. I saw the institution was a little racist. They were not inclusive of us. They were not always including us in the studies they would conduct. They would exclude me from different research studies, saying, oh, because of my hair texture and things like that. When they would do brainwave studies. So it occurred to me very early on in my education that the institution of psychology wasn't, they didn't include us. They didn't really, a lot of stuff was missing because they are missing a large part of the demographic to do the studies on. So I told myself when I got my degree, when I finished, I was like, well, I'll just do my own thing. I don't have to work in the institution of psychology in the field that they have set up, like all of the practice, whatever. I said, how can I use my education and what I know to help my community, impact my community in a positive way? And I started off because I was always the person, because I understand human behavior so well. I was always the person everybody came to speak to about their problems or their relationship issues. They would come talk to me about different stuff. Me knowing the answers or the solutions or understanding what they were going through just came so naturally for me. And I started a dating service or a business where I was helping women like land the type of men they wanted or attract the type of men they wanted. And then I found out from doing that work that a lot of women's issues did not come from not being able to find the type of man they wanted. Their issues came from lack of self-love and self-worth. They did not know who they were. They did not understand, their worth, their value as women. They didn't understand what being a woman represented and how that relates to a relationship with a man, like the dynamics of that situation. A lot of women don't get that. And I said, if I really want to have impactful work, I need to focus on the inner work that women need to do, the self-love part, not the superficial relationship dating aspect. That's so superficial. That's the layer on the top that women that are, operating from the ego perspective, that's the part they want to show to the world. Oh, this is my man. This is my relationship. This is my family. But that doesn't bring happiness. That doesn't bring peace of mind. That doesn't bring acceptance of self. That doesn't mean you're going to love who you see in the mirror or love your life when you wake up every day just because you have a man or a family. Or that doesn't mean that. Doing the work from the dating coach, it brought me to the work of self-love. I don't want to just do a money grab and make money out. People want to help them. And the help is not helping you find a man. The help is help you find yourself. And then a man or a relationship would just be a side effect.
Wow, that's a nugget right there. That's a nugget. Even when you're looking for a relationship, you need to focus, ladies. I hope you're listening. You need to focus on yourself. You have to focus on your own self-esteem, no matter who you are.
Yeah, because once you have that level of high self-confidence and high self-esteem, for one, the kicker is this. A lot of people don't realize once you really have reached that level of self-actualization and you know exactly who you are, you don't even desire to have a relationship a lot of times. Your desires and your focus changes at that point, right?
Wow.
But then when you get there, if you decide to let something like that into your life, it's you coming from a totally different space. It's not from a place of neediness or validation from this thing. It's more so, okay, I have extra energy and extra love to give. I have a little bit more for that. I'll let it in. But it's not based off need or lack.
That is powerful. That is so powerful and so true. So how do you teach these sort of things? Is it exercises? Do you do personal coaching or do you do all of the above?
Yeah, so I do personal one-on-one coaching, but I have been putting content out. Just a lot of different information about psychology, just basic things like self-fulfilling prophecy, just different psychological phenomena that we all are playing into, that we all participate in every day. We don't know about it. So I just want to I started by bringing those little things to light just so people can see, maybe I do have biases, that are creating my reality. So I kind of pinpoint that. I have a lot of information about the psychology of men, because when women understand how men operate, then they can understand how they can navigate relationships with men. A lot of women don't understand men and women. They think totally different. Brains are totally different. The way they're socialized are totally different.
How do people find this information so that we can support you and get some of your coachings?
My website is www.lalovedoctor.com. My brand is LA Love Doctor. I am the founder of that. The slogan for the brand is learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. That is the moniker I took from the late, great Whitney Houston. And yes, that is so true. That's a powerful song. And LA Love Doc on Instagram.
Okay.
And then Rai Raye, RAI_RAYE is my Instagram.
Well, how do you find time to coach people and work with people and to do this sort of work while you're so busy acting and doing all these shows?
I went digital. So I put a lot of my resources and information online. Making a digital representation of myself online. That way people can have access to the information, my teachings, without me having to be physically present. I am starting a community though, where we will be meeting up on Zoom once a week. And I do want to create that cohesiveness, that community where everybody just has a safe space to talk about what they're going through, and we can all put our minds together and come up with solutions just to live better, feel better about ourselves. I'm big on women's confidence. It starts from within, but it's also without, working out every day, eating healthy. I'm plant-based. I've been plant-based for 8 years. So just things like that, just keeping the girls inspired.
So what would be one gem that you could give ladies who are looking for a relationship or they're not too happy with where they are right now? What would you tell them as they're about to enter into your program?
Ask yourself, why do you want a relationship? Why? And if you ask yourself why, you get curious about that. And a lot of times people say, I want a companionship, I want love, this and that. Well, that's where you are making your biggest mistake, because all those things that you are seeking for outside of yourself are supposed to come from within. So when people say I want a family, or they say I want a husband, they usually want that because they think society will only accept them if they have a husband, or that they can portray a certain image, or that it represents a certain image if they have a husband. But it's not really because they want to be dealing with this man every day and all the problems that come along with having relationships. A lot of times, like I said, men, they think totally different. They operate totally different. And then you're looking over other people and comparing yourself. So you might see this lady over here that has a husband or a boyfriend, but you don't know what she's going on behind closed doors.
That's right.
I know what they're going through behind closed doors because they come work with me. And when you see that, it's not always, that's the gem I can give you. It's not always everything is cracked up to be. It's not, everything that glitters is not gold.
That's it. And let me tell you something. I cannot wait to see your program just go global and just be super huge, because I think women empowerment is so important more than any other time. And especially now that we're seeing what's going on with politics and how they're trying to take us all the way back to the Stone Age. And so I'm so proud of you for standing up for women, doing what needs to be done, and helping to empower all women to get out here and to love yourself. And I also like what you said, because I feel that especially those of us that are very independent, society knocks us down so much and wants us to believe that we're not happy, even if we are. If I'm telling you, there's a segment in my memoir where I literally had a conversation with one of my good friends. She and I are like, I've known her since I was 14. And we had to have that conversation where it was like she wanted the kids and marriage and all that. And that was never something that I was really focused on. I wanted the career. I wanted to do this sort of thing. I want to help others. If that came along, that's great. But that was always my focus. And I've never been someone that, even if I'm not in a relationship, that feels sad or down about it. And so I've gone years and years and years of therapy, everyone knows that, who's been following. And therapists have always told me, Tona, there is nothing wrong with you. It's okay that you are happy if you're single, or, I process, if I go through a relationship, I process myself, see where I'm at. But I've always been a loner. I don't know what it is about me. Like, someone that's in my space all the time gets on my nerves.
Me too. And if you always in my face, I better be always getting something that's benefiting from you being in my face. I can't just have you. I just can't have you consistently in my face, and I don't see the immediate benefits. I need tangible benefits, baby. You can't give me nothing that's intangible. I got all the love and the feels and all that. I got all that, baby. You can't. I was born with that. I was born with all that. So all you can give me in this 3D dimension is 3D things. If
I
you
know
ain't
that's
coming
right.
with the tangible goods, baby, kick that. Because everything that make my
Okay.
life move around is tangible. Because the intangible things that come from within. So, and when you have that level of understanding, it's nothing. Nobody can gaslight you. They can't dangle no carrots of marriage and relationship in front of you. Because you know that's all that's come from within. I'm the
Exactly.
community. I'm the family. I'm the everything. I'm the table.
Yes.
That's why you want something. So yeah,
That's
you got to bring tangible
ooh,
items.
that
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, I'm all that. And when you understand that all that's within, and that's why they want a piece of you, they want a piece of what's within you. You move different, and you carry yourself different, and you don't give everyone access to that. Everybody's not
That's
deserving, and you got
that's
to ask
right.
yourself, why do you want to be a part of the circus?
I think that's something too that people are just never real enough about the ups and downs. Because if we're not, y'all, then how can we be in a long-term relationship over the years when things are going to go up and down, when we don't want to talk about those things and we want to pretend that everything is so perfect. Your relationship is so perfect and that y'all never even have an argument. Like, come on, y'all, pass me with that. Let's keep it 100. And also, let's create spaces for women who don't necessarily want to do and be the traditional lady who's sitting at home having your babies all the time. And part of my series is about being authentic. There's different types of people, right? There's different types of women. There's different type of men. There are different types of people, and everyone deserves their space. Everyone, even if you don't understand why these people are the way they are or why they think the way they do, they're still human beings. And they deserve to be here. And I just am so privileged to have you, not only as a friend, but also seeing you do the work that you're doing. Allowing all women to have this space is such a joy to hear, because as I said, I've had these conversations with family and friends, and oh, you don't want to be lonely. If I was lonely, I would tell y'all. Okay, I'm very fulfilled in what I do, and it's always a man around. Come on now, let's keep it 100. I'm
That's
not
the
sitting here.
easiest thing to get. But that's why I'm saying loneliness should come from lack. Loneliness is a lack mentality. If you feel like you're lonely or bored, that means you lacking within yourself. I don't get lonely or bored. I can always find something constructive to do.
Right, right, right. And then, and I was raised by women that's how they live their lives. Like literally my grandparents, my aunties, they're entrepreneurs. They travel all around the world. And I love those ladies, because if I did not have that self-esteem from them, with how horrible a lot of the men have been in my life, and you guys can read about that in my memoir as well, then I don't know what I would do, because they gave me that strength. You all give me the strength. My fans, my friends give me the strength to keep going and not allow myself to take it personally that this person don't have their stuff together, so they're jealous, or they can't be real about what they really like, or any of the things, all the things, as one of my good girlfriend Shauna says, all the things. So I'm just so proud of you. I love you. Thank you so much for
Love you
coming on.
too. Thank you for having me.
Of course, anytime, you're always welcome. Thank you so much for coming on Conversations with Tona Brown. Everyone, I am here with the beautiful and talented Rihanna. Please support her. Go to her social media. Get involved. If you're a lady who wants some help and you need some coaching because you're trying to get through, or like maybe you're currently in a relationship, you need some help, go to her. Maybe you want to be in a relationship and you need to work on self. Go to her.
Right now, I have the LA Love Doctor Self-Love Planner. And it gives you a ton of resources and trackers to keep up with your daily progress, such as your workout, your diet, your oral care, your skincare, everything. It keeps you on track with that. And then I also have my dating pre-screen coming out. So it's teaching you how to, if a man approaches you, what questions to ask and the conversation that needs to be had before you would proceed to give him your number. And that will weed out a lot of your time wasters, your guys that are texting you for no reason, what you doing, good morning. It weeds out those guys because you've pre-screened them. So you're not just giving out your number to just anyone. Because a lot of times ladies don't know that the guys are weird. So they already got a number out. But the pre-screen help you to avoid that. So.
Okay, you better give the girls the tips. Thank you so much, Ray.
You're welcome.
If you are enjoying this conversation and would like more content like this, please join our podcast family. You can actually go and join our email list on bio.site/Tona Brown. You can also follow me on all the social media platforms under @Tenacity, and you'll see the blue check on Facebook where I'm very, very engaged with all of my friends, all of my colleagues and fans. And please check out my book. It is called Tenacity, the Tona Brown Story. You can find it on Barnes & Noble's website and also on Amazon.com. I love you all. Thank you so much for supporting me. And I look forward to the next conversation with Tona Brown.